Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing another one of my album ranking videos where I look at ranking all of the albums I own from a particular year. Today I'm going to be doing 1988 here. Now I actually thought that this would be a relatively shorter video. I thought 1988, there's not that many albums like that came out like that year that I really love. But I actually ended up with 33 albums in my collection from 1988. So I will just go very quickly, and actually, to be fair, a lot of these, probably a lot of the kind of like latter half of the list are albums that I'm really not too familiar with at all, ones that I really only kind of really listened to in that preparation for this video. So maybe going forward there might well be some changes to this list, but anyway, we will just get stuck in. Number 33, my least favourite album from that year, by an artist that you wouldn't expect me to show right in the last spot on one of these type of videos, but I'm going for Paul McCartney's Russian album here, which was basically a rock and roll covers album he released exclusively in the then USSR, and yeah, this was kind of just before the Berlin Wall fell and whatnot, so they were just sort of coming out of communism kind of thing, and yeah, and slowly opening up a little bit to the Western world, and this was kind of McCartney's exclusive album for the Russians. I mean, it's a bog standard rock and roll covers album. A lot of these songs are tracks that even McCartney do elsewhere, so things like Kansas City, 20 Flight Rock, Lucille, in much better versions, all other live performances. It's just a very bog standard track list, a very bog standard kind of covers album here, very workmanlike. Next up now, number 32. Now I love this band's debut album, but this album felt like a real kind of misstep and a very weak album overall for me. It's by the Weather Prophets, which is the album Judges, Juries and Horsemen. I just didn't care for this album at all, really. I thought that it lacked the immediacy of the debut album Mayflowers, and just some of the tracks go on for too long, and just production-wise, a little bit too over-ambitious, They're kind of just a kind of jangle band, really. But they try and become something else on here, and it just really doesn't work and just feels quite, inauthentic, I'd say. So, yeah, the Weather Prophets there, number 32. Now, I would have thought I would have had this album a little bit higher, but number 31, I've got the Smithereens here and the album Green Thoughts here. So, yeah, I think this was the first album of theirs. I bought American kind of alternative rock band kind of thing. But, yeah, again, just revisiting this, this really wasn't my favourite. I felt that it was very much kind of just quite an unremarkable album, but a little bit for me. None of the songs are particularly memorable, on here. Definitely the weakest out of the albums that I have, of theirs, I would say. Another album, a lot of these ones are kind of fitting into this kind of, slightly, unremarkable kind of category. Number 30, it would be the Railway Children, a Wigan band here. Again, I love a couple of their, I think it's their third album, A Native Place, is fantastic. This is their second album called Recurrence, and yeah, again, this is just one that's a little bit unremarkable. There's a couple of good tracks on it though. I think it was Over and Over I really liked. And yeah, it's not the longest album in the world. There's 10 tracks in it, so it's not a slog to get through, but it just felt a little bit, a bit unremarkable, overall. Again, similar kind of category here for this album by a band, I think from Bristol, I want to say, the Brilliant Corners here. Again, another mid-80s kind of indie sort of jangle pop sort of band here. This one's quite good. It's quite, yeah, again, the songs are quite jangly, but they've got kind of some brass touches on it as well, which kind of sets them apart a little bit. I think. This is a good record called Somebody Up There Likes Me, and yeah, we'll come in at number 29 on my list. Next one up, 28, we've got a Scottish band here, The Big Dish. This again is their second album. A lot of kind of second albums on this list here, kind of bands who maybe started in the mid-80s, then were kind of continuing in 1988. This was, yeah, The Big Dish. I think this is their second album called Creeping Up on Jesus. This is good. Again, again, a little bit like unremarkable, and certainly not a patch on the debut album Swimmer from 1986. That's an incredible album. This one's maybe a little bit on the boring side, but there's still some good tracks there, like nothing too like offensive like on here for me. I think we maybe take a slight step up now, like on like the list. This is an album that again I definitely do really like enjoy. It's the Bible, and this is the album Eureka. Again, a second album here by a band. Again, I forget where they're from, but this is good. Particularly the first two tracks, Skywriting and Honey Be Good, are fantastic songs. Like two of like the best songs that got like the year for me. But there's just some other tracks there on here like that I'm maybe not crazy about. Crystal Palace was one of the singles, which I don't particularly care for, and yeah, the rest of it's maybe a little bit forgettable. But those those first two tracks are great. So yeah, no, the Bible, Eureka here at number 27. Next up now at number 26 is one that I've shown in my last vinyl update video, a kind of new discovery for me, a band called The Claim. They're from Rochester in Kent, and yeah, this is a strong second album. I think they never had any success, but it's quite it very much feels like a kind of garage kind of album. You know, the production on it is very minimal, like at best, but it just has that kind of like immediacy to it that I guess some of like the other bands like I've shown, like the Big Dish and the Bible, like were maybe getting a bit too glossy, but these guys are just very much like quite rough and ready, quite a breath of fresh air like on like the list there. So that is The Claim there. Next up now is one that I think a lot of people would have quite a bit higher on their list. This is definitely one of the more well-acclaimed and more like influential albums, and it's the only album like I actually own by this band, Dinosaur Jr. And the album's called Bug. Again, a US alternative band, but this one very much more leaning into the grungy kind of side of things, or certainly like a precursor to grunge. I mean, the first song on this album is great. It's called Freak Scene, and it is fantastic. But a lot of the the rest of the album is quite abrasive, like a bit too kind of sort of hard rock, a bit too difficult for me. But that first track is great, a great bounce between slightly oddball kind of vocal, but then great harmonies and great like acoustic work, like interacting with like the electric and all the crazy stuff like on like the pedals. So no, like it's a good album here though, Dinosaur Jr. and Bug. Next up now we have the final album. I think, it's the final album, by Talking Heads, called Naked, that came out in 1988, number 24. This was quite a different album for them in some ways. It's quite a kind of world music album, very rhythmic album, but and it's almost like the kind of part two of Remaining Light, like in some ways, because that's also quite a rhythmic and quite like world music like influenced album. But whereas that album had a lot of kind of had Eno's production over it, this one feels a lot more kind of pure and a lot more natural sort of sounding. There's a couple of excellent tracks on here, particularly Nothing But Flowers is fantastic. A couple of weaker, more forgettable songs. It's weaker songs like on it as well. It's not an album that I know particularly well, but again, just listening to like all the albums like on this list, this is where it ended up falling, number 24 for Talking Heads. Next one now, at number 23, we have got another second album here by the Mighty Lemon Drops here. This is the album called World Without End, and this is a pretty good album. Particularly, the first song is great. Inside Out is fantastic, one of the songs of the year for me. And like many of the other ones like on this list, like up to this point, the rest of the album maybe doesn't quite live up to that, but it's still pretty good though. So no, the Mighty Lemon Drops, at number 23. Okay, now we have at number 22, again, another one which possibly some people might have a bit higher. Again, I'm still relatively new to this artist overall, so James here, and the album Strip Mine here. So this was their second album, and I think at this point, James are probably one of the kind of candidate bands, like in a way, to pick up the mantle from the Smiths as the kind of big indie band that got like the day. But it would take them maybe a few more albums to get there, like I'd say. Because this album doesn't really have too many big hits on it. I think maybe What For was maybe a single. but certainly none of the other tracks seem to ring a bell for me. It's definitely a good record. It's quite a like an acoustic sort of album like this one here, like in like some ways. It definitely doesn't rock too hard, this album, but it's a good record though. And again, they're slowly developing their sound and slowly emerging as the kind of I think it would be like the next album, Gold Mother, where James would kind of like hit the big time like in like a big way. But this was very much them just kind of like on like the road to getting there. So no, James Strip Mine at number 22. Okay, next up now at number 21 on my list, I've got a band called Game Theory here. This is the album Two Steps from the Middle Ages. This is their third or fourth album, and this is very good. There's definitely the slightly more poppy sort of album. You know, they're quite a schizophrenic band in the kind of power pop sort of like vein, but this is a great energetic album. A lot of harmonies on it. Particularly, I think my favourite track is called Throwing the Election, and that's just fantastic. Who's the guy like in it? It's Scott. It's called Scott Miller. Like is like the kind of like the lead singer like in like Game Theory, and it just doesn't really sound dated at all. You know, it still sounds quite modern, like and fresh. You know, it's very hard to kind of place this album. So no, a very good record here for me. Game Theory at number 21. Next up, number 20 is one that maybe took me by surprise a little bit, because again, it wasn't an album that I knew particularly well, but I ended up really enjoying it. It's by a band called The Adventurers, and it's called The Sea of Love is the album. I think this was their only album, possibly, but this is very, very, very good. Quite, a bit more poppy, a bit more accessible, but it reminds me a bit like Deacon Blue. It's got that same kind of, slightly anthemic kind of songs, but also quite poppy and, quite kind of good production, like kind of quality, kind of sort of like sheen, kind of sophisti-pop kind of sheen to it, but also not kind of cheesy or forced either. That's just their sound sort of thing. Like the track, I think it was A Broken Land, has some great bagpipes on it. I'm not sure if they're Scottish, but it wouldn't surprise me like if like they are. It's definitely got that same kind of big country Deacon Blue kind of feel to it. So no, The Adventurers and The Sea of Love, a really, really strong album for me. Another one now that I just picked up in my last final update video when I was over in New York. I got this album, which is the Feelies, and this is the album called Only Life. This is something like their second or third album here. And then this is, again, a good immediate album. The guitars are kind of clean sounding, but have a lot of punch to them still. Like the track, I think I picked out the song Too Much as being my favourite, like, on the album. Maybe a couple like off like the other ones towards the end, like maybe not quite as memorable, but I thought this was maybe a cut above some of the other ones like I've had so far. So no, that's the Feelies there at number 19. Next up now at number 18, we have got Newcastle-based singer-songwriter Martin Stevenson and the Dainties here. This is the album Gladsome Humour and Blue here. This is a pretty good album, I think. It shows him slightly like advancing the sound. It's kind of a full band on here, whereas I think maybe Boat to Bolivia was maybe just him. I'm not 100% sure, but you know, he's kind of got a full band on here and a couple of great songs. Like There Comes a Time, like it's fantastic. It just builds up really slowly. It's fantastic. Slaughterman, great song. The main single on here though, I'm maybe not crazy about, like Holy Humble Heart. I don't really like that song like too much, which I'm probably in the minority of, because it probably is like his biggest song. But no, I really do like Martin Stevenson and the Dainties here. A great album. Okay, next one now, number 17, we have got the album 39 Minutes here by Micro Disney. So this is the Irish group's fourth album, and this is a confident and diverse album. Some of the great tracks, the Gale Force Wind is one of my songs of the year for me. It is just a fantastic track. A lot of other great tracks like Back to the Old Town and Soul Boy. Singer's Hampstead Home is a great opener as well. So no, really strong album here, 39 Minutes by Micro Disney. Okay, let's look now at number 16 on my list. I've got a really fun album here actually, which I really enjoyed, which is The Primitives, and the album is called Lovely. This is their, I want to say their second album possibly again. But a very strong album though. Yeah, quite jangly, fun, vibrant vocals on it. Like some great, yeah, like I forget like what like the singer's name is, but she's got a fantastic voice. Very easy like on like the ear, like I'd say. But it's also quite adventurous as well. Like there's a track called, I think it's "Carry Me Home," where one of the guys like in like the band sings, and it has a much more of a kind of like Eastern kind of like influence, kind of like Indian like influence on it. So yeah, no, they were still like, even though they were very much in that kind of jangle pop vein, they could also like sort of like spread out their sound like a little bit. So I thought, yeah, the Primitives and Lovely here was yeah, very good album. Okay, next up now at number 15 we have got Wire, and the album is "A Bell Is a Cup Until It Is Struck" here. So this was a bit of a comeback album for Wire. They kind of had formed in the kind of like the late 70s, had a couple of really good influential albums like in like the late 70s. And then I think had a bit of an extended hiatus until coming back with this album in 1988. And this is great, a slightly more radio-friendly sound for them, particularly on tracks like Kidney Bingos. Come Back in Two Halves is great. Like I think Follow the Loco as well. Like side 2 I think is maybe slightly stronger like on like this album, but it is a very strong record though. Strange cover, but fantastic album though. So yeah, that's Wire at number 15. Okay, next up now at number 14 we've got an album that I just reviewed recently actually, which was The Waterboys, and the album is Fisherman's Blues here. So this is a strong album of reinvention really for The Waterboys. They've kind of had been a band like U2 and Big Country, kind of, yeah, big sort of not quite stadium sounds, but kind of like arena kind of like sort of rock sounds and that, you know. But like on this album they very much strip everything back, and like Mike Scott's very much leaning into his kind of folk sort of like the folk tradition sort of thing. There's some great moments on here, particularly Fisherman's Blues. Strange Boat is beautiful. The cover of Van Morrison's Sweet Thing is fantastic. Like When Will We Get Married, like, is another really fun track. Maybe a couple of weaker moments like on it. I didn't absolutely love this album, but it is a strong album like overall. And again, yeah, real like artistic triumph, like I'd say, like for like the Waterboys. You know, very much set them apart as like a band who were like leaning into the kind of like the Celtic folk like influence, and reinventing themselves like in like the process. Next on at number 13 we have got The Church and the album Starfish. Now this is probably their most successful and signature album like for like many people. It's great. It's a great kind of psychedelic, kind of quite spacey album here. Yeah, like I said, it's probably their signature album, primarily because it contains a song like Under the Milky Way, which was a big hit, I think, like in like America and their native Australia, but in the UK I don't think that song like even charted. There's some other great tracks. The opener Destination is just fantastic, goes on a real journey. Reptile has quite a like a really good kind of frantic like riff to it, like as well. A couple of like other like underrated moments on it, like A New Season like is like a really good track. And yeah, maybe a couple like that are slightly like more forgettable, but overall a strong record here though by The Church. Starfish comes in at number 13. Okay, now at number 12 we've got Brian Wilson's self-titled solo album here. Now this was, I think, his first official kind of solo album, and it's an album that is in many ways kind of steeped in sadness, because this was like executively produced by Eugene Landy, Dr. Eugene Landy, who, like, if you've watched the film Love and Mercy about Brian Wilson's life, you know, Eugene Landy was not a very nice character, like, at all. He basically, like, drugged and, like, emotionally abused Brian, like, throughout much of, like, this time. Like, basically, like, knowing this was the album that he kind of encouraged Brian to make and kind of, like, get him to make, there's maybe some sadness steeped in, like, this album, but it actually is a good album, like, overall. The production is quite full on, you know, it is definitely a kind of it's Brian Brian Wilson and his kind of Beach Boys production reimagined a little bit for like kind of like the mid to late 80s. And it is a kind of bit of a roll call like of different producers. You've got like various producers on here, including I think Jeff Lynne does one song called Let It Shine, which is one of my favourites like on the album. And then you've also got like the title track and we'll say the title track like Love and Mercy, like it's like the opening song like on here, which is a fantastic song. So no, a really good record here by Brian Wilson there at number 12 for me. Okay, let's start now at number 11. So yeah, just missing out on a place in the top 10. We have Crowded House and the album Temple of Low Men here. Another second album here. And while, again, like a lot of the other ones I've shown, is a bit of a step down from the debut, like in like my opinion, there's just some absolutely great songs like on this album. I think particularly Better Be Home Soon as the closer's fantastic. When You Come is just a great song. So like again, like atmospheric, and all the guitars doing some great work on that track. And I think I also picked out In the Lowlands as another favourite of mine. So Crowded House here with a great album at number 11. Okay, that's not at number 10. Definitely one of the most well-acclaimed albums of 1988, and it is Talk Talk and Spirit of Eden here. So yeah, just what a unique album this is. Quite a powerful listen. It's not easy listening like by any means. It's very much an album you need to have a good stereo system to fully appreciate all the kind of intricacies of it and kind of be in the mood to like enjoy it. But I think once you get kind of sucked into the album, it just really moves you, sort of thing. So no, it's a great record here, Spirit of Eden by the wonderful Talk Talk. Next up now at number 9 on my list, I have got the REM album Green here. So this is a really strong record. This was something maybe like their 5th or 6th album here. It shows a band very much in full confidence. REM were probably maybe the biggest band like off at the time, or certainly up there in terms of like kind of like having big singles. I think Document was a real breakthrough album like for them, and then this was the kind of follow-up to it. So I think every album they'd be getting slightly bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I think they'd follow this up with Out of Time, which they would go absolutely like astronomical kind of like success like on like that album. Here though, again, they're growing in confidence and growing like their instrument palette like as well, touching on some slightly broader like kind of like lyrical themes. There's a bit of politics like involved like on like this album like as well, and like a real like mix of styles. Pop Song 89 is just a great immediate kind of REM song, just like very kind of hooky song. And then there's a great song called Stand. And then there's other things like World Leader Pretend, and like Orange Crush I think is about like nuclear war like on it. So it's quite a diverse album here by REM Green, and will come in at number 9. Next up now at number 8 on my list. It's definitely a bit fashionable these days to hate on Morrissey, and while I don't really follow his career like anymore, there is still no denying that some of his early solo work is absolutely fantastic. And for me, Viva Hate is probably the best like of his solo albums. I probably used to kind of go between this and Your Arsenal and Vauxhall and I, but I'd say I've kind of settled to thinking that this is the best Morrissey solo album. It's got 2 of his big hits on it, like Every Day's Like Sunday and Suede Head, but then some other great album cuts like on here. Late Night Magdalen Street is just very beautiful song, very kind of like lazy kind of song, but just sort of flows really well. Break Up the Family I love, and I Don't Mind If You Forget Me is a really good rocker, and like Alsatian Cousin like as the opener like is a really good interesting opener. It's quite like Vinnie Riley's guitar like on it is just kind of screeching like throughout like the track, and this kind of rhythm that doesn't quite know like what it's doing. Just a very interesting song I think, and like a good album here overall by Morrissey. A couple of weaker moments, Bengali and Platforms isn't great, Dial a Cliche is okay, or I think like The Ordinary Boys is a slightly weaker one as well, but the good stuff on here more than makes up for the slightly weaker tracks. Okay, next up now at number 7 on my list, we have got Sunshine on Leith by The Proclaimers. So this is like another second album here, and again another one where they really step it up like for the second album. They like the debut great. There's some fantastic songs in it, but it's just the two of them. There's no band on it. But this one here, they're really expanded like their sound, and yeah, this is their high point really. So many great songs in it. 500 Miles is fantastic. Then I Met You, just does some great guitar work on it. It's fantastic. And then of course you've got Sunshine on Leaf, like is a beautiful, beautiful song. So yeah, it's very hard, it's very hard to resist this album, and like kind of like I always have a really good time like when I listen to it. Maybe tails off a little bit towards the end, Teardrops and It's Saturday Night, or maybe slightly weaker, but I mean certainly like side one is near enough faultless, I'd say. So yeah, that is Sunshine on Leaf. Next up now at number 6. I reckon if I'd done this video, say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I certainly wouldn't have had half of these albums like in my collection, but I probably would have had this one a fair bit lower. But I've gone for at number 6, the Style Council's Confessions of a Pop Group here. Now this is a fascinating album for me. It's Paul Weller at his most ambitious, and while I can't say that I love everything on here, I do appreciate that he took a risk like on this album, and yeah, really kind of pushed the boat out on it, because essentially the first side is all kind of classical like influence stuff. So you've got a couple of great songs. You got like It's a Very Deep Sea, which is a beautiful song. He started doing like that live again recently, and it's just fantastic. And then The Story of Someone's Shoe like is a really great song. You got the Swingle Sisters Singers, I think, on it. I think they're called like on it, and they're fantastic on like that song. And then Changing of the Guard like is a lovely ballad, and then a couple of really nice kind of more slightly more Mick Talbot like led piano songs there, which are great. And then side 2 like is a lot more poppy and in your face kind of sound like on it, but again some fantastic tracks. Like Why I Went Missing is great. How She Threw It All Away is one of my favourite all-time Style Council songs. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, again there's a lot of great stuff on here. Maybe a couple of weaker tracks like I Was a Dull Daddy's Toy Boy is not great really. Again, one of the Style Council's worst songs. But really aside from that, even just looking down the track list, really only that and maybe Life After Top People's Health Form, which was the main single, that are the slightly weaker tracks I got here. So no, a very good album here by the Style Council. Next up now at number 5, I haven't actually shown on my channel yet because it is a recent purchase, and yeah, listen to it, and it shot up like the list, and like kind of like came on instantly at like the number 5 spot. So it's by the Gobetweens, and it's the album 16 Lovers Lane. So yeah, Gobetweens records are quite rare, so like I was very lucky to find this. So like when I did, I was like, yep, I'm having that. Not actually ever hearing the album, so the first time I heard it like was when I got back home, and I just fell in love with it. There's so many great songs on here. It's definitely it's in that similar kind of jangle pop vein, but this just feels like a cut above some of the other like albums like that I've shown like on here. The melodies are just effortless. Songs like Quiet Heart, it's just a beautiful song. You Can't Say No Forever is fantastic. It's got again interesting mix of I think kind of guitar and strings and harmonica like on it. Streets of Your Town is the main single. It's probably Go-Between's most famous song possibly, but that should have been a big hit like in like the UK. Like it only got to number 80 here, which is a real like kind of like injustice there. I just feel that this is a great album, and it's made me like an even bigger fan like of theirs than I was like already, which was probably just like a mild fan. Now I'm keen to try and get all their albums because this was just brilliant. So yeah, 16 Lovers Lane, Go-Betweens at number 5 for me. Again, another album now that I probably, if I'd done this video a couple of years ago, would have had a lot lower, but it's just really again grown on me, this album, and it's Prefab Sprout and From Langley Park to Memphis here. So yeah, again, very much a grower, because initially I was probably turned off, I think, by the production, thinking that it's very glossy, this album, and it's not authentically Prefab Sprout sort of thing. It just feels like they've kind of trying too hard, like in a way, to have a hit album, but just now, I think like having kind of like let it grow on me, it just is a great album. Like even King of Rock and Roll, which I mean, is still probably the weakest track on here. It is an irresistible song, but then there's so many great songs like Cars and Girls, fantastic. Enchanted just got some great keyboard work on it, great vocals on it. Nightingale's a lovely, lovely song. Hey Manhattan, even I think even when I reviewed it, I thought that's a bit too kind of show tuney, but even now, I mean, like I love that song. And then like the runner, like the last three tracks, like the Golden Calf, Nancy Let Your Hair Down for Me, and the Venus of the Soup Kitchen. Brilliant run of songs there. So yeah, it is a fantastic album here. Prefab Sprout, Langley Pot to Memphis would come in at number 4 for me. Next up now at number 3 was another one that I kind of discovered the album and I kind of first heard the album like after buying it. So it's kind of like these records where I think they're not quite blind buys, but they're albums that you don't know. I tend to find that when you really like them, it feels like quite like an accomplishment, like hey, like I've kind of found something new, like sort of thing. And this was definitely that for me, and it's like the Lilac Time self-titled debut album here. One of my absolutely favourite bands, and this is possibly their best album. I'm really not sure. There's very much like not a lot really for me between their first 3 or 4 albums really. Duffy's writing on here, Stephen Duffy, who had been known as Stephen Tintin Duffy for like much of like the mid-80s, and decided he had enough of trying to be a pop star and instead formed a kind of folk sort of pop band. And his writing on here is very alluring. Songs like Black Velvet, like Love Becomes a Savage, Road to Happiness, so just they're quite dark and kind of quite sort of slow sort of songs, but his voice just suits him really well. But then you've got some more upbeat tracks on here as well, things like Together, You've Got to Love, Return to Yesterday, fantastic single. So like a good mix here, like of like songs, and a fantastic record. So the Lilac Time at number 3. Okay, next up now at number 2, we have got the Traveling Wilburries here. Again, a classic collaboration here of 5 of the all-time greats. A completely unpretentious album for me. It just feels they came together very naturally, and this does feel like a very natural album. Like even though you have got Jeff Lynne's production on it, like I think the songs are really great for the most part. Again, there's maybe a couple of Dylan ones that maybe not. I think Congratulations is probably the weakest track, but even then, because I've become more of a Bob Dylan fan like in recent years, like this album has probably grown on me even more. And then you've got those great George Harrison moments like Handle with Care, Tom Petty's Last Night's fantastic. So it's just a great collaboration of a couple of my very all-time favourite artists: George Harrison, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, and the great Roy Orbison as well. So Traveling Wilburys there at number 2. Okay, now at number 1, probably won't be too much of a surprise if you're familiar with my channel and the kinds of bands like that I show, but at number 1 I am going for the House of Love and their debut album here. This is just a great album. It is so strong and consistent, and they don't overdo it either. 10 songs, barely scrapes by half an hour, and it's just fantastic. Touches of 60s psychedelia on here, but also real sense of variety as well. Like songs like Road and Sulphur really rock, but then you've got slower moments as well on it, and then just some great euphoric tracks as well. Things like Hope, with this great guitar work from Teddy Bickers on it, and Fisherman's Tale again with this wall of harmony sound. It's just really kind of my cup of tea, this album. A good mix between kind of a bit shoegazy, but also just great songwriting, and quite short songs as well, quite concise songs. They really don't overdo it. House of Love, brilliant album here. 1988, my favourite album of 1988. So yes, that has been me done my album ranking of 1988. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed the video. I will be interested to know what some of your favourite albums were from 1988. And yep, I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye. Still talking